Alright guys, this is your learning piece for Module 2. We're going to work through two problems. The first one gives you the situation and you are creating the inequality. And the second one is the opposite. So you're given the inequality and you're asked to create a situation. So, for number one, the first thing we're going to do is just read the problem. Just read it through as is. We're not marking anything, we're just reading it. If you would like to copy this problem down onto your Notability or onto a piece of paper, feel free. Also, if you want to take a screenshot of the video right here and then put that photo into Notability so that you can follow along while we're filling notes out so that you have your submission ready for Module 2 learning, then you are going to be set. Alright, let's go ahead and read it. JoJo's Coffee House charges $12.99 for a refillable mug and 30 cents to fill the mug with coffee each time. JoJo's also sells disposable mugs of coffee for 79 cents each. How many mugs of coffee would you need to drink to make the refillable mug the better deal? So before we even start writing this specific inequality, I just want to talk about our four different inequality symbols we will see. And I'm just going to draw them here. If you want to write down what they mean, feel free. You can add extra little notes to your notes sheet as needed. So the first one is greater than, like I've drawn here. The second one is greater than or equal to. So remember that line means or equal to. And then we have less than or equal to. And finally, less than. So inequalities are always comparing two separate amounts. Alright, so looking at JoJo's example specifically, we have two different situations that we're comparing here. The first one would be our refillable mug. And the other option would be disposable. So refillable versus disposable. And we're talking about the cost of each. Okay, so what comparison are we making here? And we find that in the question typically. So how many mugs of coffee would you need to drink to make the refillable mug the better deal? So when you see the better deal, that phrase means how many would you need to drink to make the refillable mug cheaper? Anything that is cheaper is the better deal. Typically, we want to spend less money so that we can save money. So if we want the refillable mug to cost less, we are going to draw our inequality symbol like this between our two situations. So now we have refillable is less than disposable. So our inequality is almost already set up. Now we just have to figure out the expressions that go with each of these word comparisons. So for refillable mug, I'm going to fill that in this blue color. And I'm going to just put boxes around key pieces. So they charge $12.99 just for the mug and 30 cents to fill the mug up each time. But you only have to buy the mug once. So that is a one-time fee. So that's going to be $12.99. And then we're adding to that cost because we're paying JoJo's Coffee House more money. And it's 30 cents per mug. And I'm just going to use M for mug. So every time you refill the mug, that's another 30 cents. So we have our refillable expression. We already know our inequality symbol because we want the refillable to be the better deal. We want it to be cheaper. And now let's look at disposable. If I want the disposable mug, well, that's really easy. They just charge 79 cents each for the disposable one. So that's 79 cents. But it's for each time you get a refill, each time you get a mug. So we're going to put our variable with it. So I'm going to put 79/100th M. And there we have our inequality. So if I were describing these as steps that I need to take, I'd probably describe them as the following. The first thing we did was we identified in words what you're comparing. The second thing we did, we just said these are two comparing amounts. So that's our first step. The second thing was we figured out the inequality symbol. So we looked back at the situation, we looked back at the question, and interpreted that phrase of better deal to figure out we needed less than. So that's our inequality symbol, the next step. And then finally, we create the expression. So we create those number sentences that describe our word comparison. And then you have your answer. So this inequality would match the situation above. All right, now let's look at situation 2, or number 2, where they're giving you the inequality and you need to create the situation. So for this one, we're going to do similar steps. The first thing I'm going to do is come up with some sort of framework to compare these two things with. So typically when the amounts are this large, I like to think about money. So I'm going to say Bill's money is greater than Mary's money. Okay? And then we need to interpret what these two expressions are saying. We're going to write them out as sentences. So I'm going to read it just left to right. So that's talking about Bill's money. So I'm going to say Bill has, and that constant of 432, that's just what he has already. So he has $432 in his piggy bank, in his account, wherever you want that money to be, in his pocket, in his wallet, but he has that amount. And then we have this plus 12x. So we know that it's a plus, so we need to add. And we know that it's 12 times some variable. Okay, so we need to have 12 times something in our situation. So Bill has $432 in his account and adds, another way you could say adds would be deposits in this situation, saves, but I'm going to go with adds, and he adds $12, and how I get that variable, how I get that multiplication is this phrase right here, each day. Other ways you could phrase that would be every day, every month maybe, if he's really wild, each year. But that's how you get that multiplication. There's some sort of key word per hour, whatever it might be. There's a word that indicates that multiplication. In my example, it would be each. So you see right here, our operations are written as words. All right, and that's Bill's sentence. Now let's do Mary's. Mary has, well, her constant is 932, so Mary has $932 in her account. And, well, she's subtracting 15x. So our variable is the same, so it's going to be each day. But I need that 15 to be negative. So maybe she withdraws, or I'm going to go with she spends. Whatever you need to do, but make sure that this operative word, or this word that describes our mathematical operation, describes subtraction. So she spends $15, and once again, so we know that variable's there each day. Okay, so we've written our two expressions as sentences, and now we're going to look at that inequality symbol. So, after how many days and to figure out the next part, we're going to look back here at our comparison statement. So we want Bill's money to be more than Mary. So we want Bill to have more in his account than Mary. So we just ask that. After how many days will Bill have more money than Mary? And there you have it. We have our situation for this inequality. So once again, if I were describing it as steps, the first thing I'm going to do is identify in words, just like on number 1. So identify in words. My second step is going to be to write the expressions as sentences. So I did Bill's sentence, I did Mary's sentence, and our third step is going to be to write our comparison statement based on the inequality. So we had greater than as our inequality symbol, so I knew that meant we wanted Bill to have more money, because if you have a greater amount, that means you have more. So those are our 3 steps for writing situations. All right, please make sure that you have your notes written down. If you have nothing written down, you're going to want to watch the video again and write something. You're going to take a picture of that and submit it in the next assignment so that you can move on to the practice. Bye.